All right, the first thing we're going to do is get this body removed. I got one more pin here. We'll pull this, and then we'll get the body off and go from there. But let's disconnect the battery and remove the battery from the top here. Set that aside. It's just easier to work on when you don't have the wheels in your way. So we'll remove these. All right, guys, now that the wheels are off, we're going to go ahead and remove the front bumper here. All right, guys, with our bumper off, we can set that off to the side. Next thing we're going to need to do is pull these two pins on the bottom here, get those out of the way so we can get this lower A-arm out. So we'll pull those out. I'm just using a small needle nose pliers, and we're setting the parts inside of a magnetic tray just out of the frame here. So those out. We can take this out and remove our front end pieces for the most part. We're going to take these two screws out here, which act as pins. All right, guys, now we'll go ahead and remove the shock tower. Two screws out in front here. Next thing we'll remove, guys, is the battery bracket. From there, guys, we'll move around to the back side here and do the same. And I'll be back on as soon as we get that done. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, we have access to the two halves here. There's a couple of screws we have to remove. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it looks like 8 of them all together in order to get this clamshell in half. So let's go ahead and do that next. All right, guys, with all them screws out of the way, we can go ahead and remove this top half of the clamshell, and this will reveal the inner kind of workings of our unit itself. So we have all the inner workings right here that we need to get at. First thing we're going to need to do is unplug the componentry from the actual board itself. And I'll go ahead and zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see what this looks like on the inside. So what we have to do, guys, is remove our servo right here in order to get at the screws that are holding our ESC receiver in. And we're going to go ahead and coat that in just a sec. So let's get this taken out. Now, we don't have to remove our differentials. We want to leave them in place for the most part. This is merely just removing it very basically, very easily by just lifting it up. It is just clamshelled in there. We can leave everything connected to it. We don't have to remove the servo saver or the horn in the front there. We'll just go ahead and disconnect our connections to the board here, the motor and the servo connection to the board. We can leave our power connection there. We can also remove our plug from the side here. Let's go ahead and pull this out. There we go. And we'll set that aside. That's for the lights. And now we have access to the actual circuit board itself. Taking a look at it, it is just pretty much screwed in with one screw right in the center. So let's go ahead and remove that screw. The easiest way to do it is going to be removing it from this side and then swinging the whole thing out. We have to take in consideration that we do have a power button sitting through here, as well as an LED that has to line up. So very carefully, we're going to grasp one of these plugs on the inside here and lift up on it and kind of slide the whole shebang out. All right, the first thing we're going to need to do on this, guys, is kind of make sure that it is grease and debris free. We do have 91% ISO in here, and I recommend using something 91%, it being the least, because it evaporates better. There's less water content and less chance of contaminating the board as you go. So we're going to go ahead and spray a mist on here. I'll just take a towel and wipe gently off some of the components on here. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to get to every little nook and cranny on here, but you just want to get a general kind of clean on here so that coating adheres properly. And this stuff evaporates pretty quick, guys, so you don't really have to worry about leaving any residue behind. So let's go ahead and wipe off this back section here too. When we get it to this point, we're confident that it's been cleaned properly. We can apply our conformal coating. I've got another video of myself using the same product on another ESC, but this is the stuff that I've been using, MG Chemicals. This is a silicone-based conformal coating. It's just better waterproofing. So go ahead and open this. You got to make sure, guys, that when you're using this stuff, you have ample ventilation, because it is a caustic chemical, and it can kind of irritate you as far as your mucous membranes, things like that. So just be careful using it. What I do with this, guys, is just go ahead and paint it on. Put it over everything, all the fets, all the parts on here. You want all these little connections on here covered with this coating, and you can slop it on here. It dries pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and get this painted up, like so, covering all the connections. You want to make sure everything is amply covered. Even these little capacitors you can cover should you want to. Actually, I would recommend doing that. And these little chips here, we can cover those well. And just go down the line. And coat the whole board. Don't be afraid that you're using too much of this. You're not going to use too much. You'd be more fearful of using not enough, and then having something not coated properly, get it wet, and then short the whole thing out. So that's what we want to avoid. I want to use this more in the winter time now. It's very wet and snowy. Once winter fully seats here, once winter fully sets in, it's pretty nasty. And I do want to be able to play with this outdoors in the winter. So this is just kind of I guess more of an insurance policy, if nothing else. They're saying that it is splash proof. I think it was splash proof just by virtue of it being encased in the clamshell chassis. There is no coating on this to speak of. So we're going to go ahead and fix that with this process right here. Formal coating like this can be had on Amazon, eBay. It's right around $15 or $16 for the bottle that I have right here. It's a 1.8 fluid ounce bottle, so almost 2 full ounces. This will last you a while if you don't do a lot of coating. A lot of guys will use this for their race drones and things like that, drones in general, that they want to be using year-round. But this does a really nice job. And again, we're getting everything wet with this. We want to see nice shine on that. And I'm going to end up putting like 2, maybe 3 coats of this on. And air dry about 20 to 25 minutes or so between coats, and we're going to go ahead and let that dry now, and I'll be back to put on the second coat. All right, guys, so while that's drying, I'm going to take this time to go ahead and repair that broken shock absorber that I showed you earlier. Now, it's a real simple setup on this one, guys. It's a friction-only shock. There is no keeper on this to hold the actual shock on, other than this bottom eyelet that's removable here. You can actually twist this and pull it out of the way. I think you can. Nope, that's threaded on as well, so I stand corrected on that. But basically what we're going to be doing is reattaching this top eyelet onto the shock absorber. We're going to use a little bit of glue in this case, because this is the second time this one's fallen off, and I just want to make sure that it stays in place. So what I'm using for this, guys, is going to be this is a go-to glue. It's basically just kind of an all-purpose type bonding agent. It's not a super glue type of material where it doesn't bond instantly, so it does have a set time, but that's fine as I'm waiting for my circuit board that I've coated to dry. So what we're going to do is take a small little dab of this, guys, and put it right on these threads here. All right, guys, normally in a case like this, I would replace the shock, but a couple small dabs of this glue tends to work pretty good in most applications. This stuff's pretty tough, so I'm going to go ahead and just glue this one up for the time being instead of breaking up a set of 4 shocks for this car that I have. If this fails in the field, again, I'll end up probably just upgrading the shocks to oil-filled. That's also an option with this car, but these tend to work out pretty good on the car just as they are. Not too bouncy, and they tend to perform pretty well in the rough. So we'll just kind of go with that for now. Drying time on this, probably, I don't know, an hour or 2 before you reinstall it on the vehicle. But that's it. That's the repair done there, and let's move on with the rest of this video. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I applied the third coat off camera here. That's pretty much it. That's what kind of the effect you want to have. You want to see a nice gloss on that, no pinholes or any voids of the material on any of the components. Make sure you get a good amount on there. Let it dry completely before you reinstall it. You may have to open up the hole here for the mounting screw, but that's not a big deal. A small pick or something like that will do you fine. But that's pretty much it for this process, guys. If you like seeing videos like this, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. I'll be doing more stuff like this in the future if you guys want to see it. Pretty easy to do if you put your mind to it and take your time. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See y'all in the next one, and God bless the Republic.